After watching some of the model railroading YouTube channels we follow use 3D printing to print rolling stock, buildings, and other such items, we decided to take the plunge and buy a 3D printer. After careful thought, we bought the Creality Ender 3 S1 Pro, which is a filament type printer, as opposed to the resin type printer. Today, we're going to share our first time experience with this printer by unboxing, assembling, bed leveling or tramming, and first print using the provided Creality test print file. Everything we're showing you is being done for the first time on camera. There was no practice and there are no edits or retakes. The only editing was just to cut out unnecessary footage. By far, the most intimidating part of the experience was the bed leveling or tramming. We did watch a bunch of YouTube videos on tramming, so we felt pretty good about trying to do it on our own. We want to emphasize that this is not an instructional video. We're just sharing our first time experience. But if we're successful, I will say that if we can do it, you can do it. Okay, with the assembly done, the next step is to tram the bed. Now, you might also have heard this as leveling the bed, but it's not really leveling the bed. It's more making sure that the nozzle is above the bed the same distance on all points of the table. So that's the next operation. Now, one of the things that made me nervous about the Creality Ender Pro here is that I saw a lot of YouTube videos where people were commenting that things weren't quite tight out of the box. So the table was wobbly and some of these other things that rely on these guide wheels were also not tight. And they had to adjust those. And because of that, especially the table, they had a problem getting the bed leveled. I just want to say here that we don't seem to have any of those problems. Right out of the box, the table is nice and firm, and anything that runs on these wheels that have these eccentric bolts to keep them in place seems to be pretty tight and pretty firm. So that said, I think we're ready to tram the bed. Okay, this printer has auto leveling, but before we try to auto level, what we want to try to do is get the bed as close to trammed as possible. So what we're going to do here is we have on the four corners a post with a spring and a adjustment wheel on the bottom. We have it on all four corners. So what we want to do is get this as close to trammed as possible right out of the gate. So what we're going to do is spin these wheels until they spin free. And there's no tension on the spring. So you see that? This is kind of spinning free. Now don't go too far with these because these wheels will spin right off of the post, and you don't want that. You just want them to spin freely, like so. Just like that. And now what you want to do is just spin them back and just let them come to a resting point right under the spring. So right now the spring has no tension on it, but those wheels are right up against the bottom of the spring. I'm going to do the same in the back. Okay, so those adjustment wheels are loose, and now let's give them a tighten. And there we go. Actually, let me just do this one more time. There we go. Okay, so now we have the wheels at the bottom of the springs, but the springs have no tension. So what we're going to do now is put some tension on those springs. So what we're going to do is in the middle of the table, hold it down until those wheels just touch the top of the frame there, and then we're going to give them another spin until they stop. And we're going to do the same to the front. Okay, so the next step is to turn the printer on. Now we're turning this on for the first time here on this video. So we're going to go ahead and turn it on, and let's see what happens. Our light went on, and if you can see the display is launching the Creality software. Our next step is to go into settings and hit level. Okay, with the nozzle head now down on the table, we're going to hit auxiliary level. This is where the piece of paper is going to come in. Now, I've seen this done a variety of ways on YouTube, where we did a lot of our research here. People can do it by eye, they do it with a feeler gauge, but the paper method seems to be tried and true. And what you do is you just stick a piece of paper in between the nozzle and the table, and then what you want to do is bring the nozzle down until it just basically makes contact with the paper. So we got a lot of room here, so we're just going to hit down on the adjustment. There, I'm feeling a little bit of friction there, and now if I pull the paper, it's really kind of giving me a lot of resistance. So I'm going to back off on that a little bit, and there it is right there. I can feel friction between the table and the nozzle, and the paper's still moving and it's not crinkling up. So I think that's probably a good position right there. The next step now is to hit 2. And what 2 will do is bring the head to one of the corners. The front left corner, to be specific. Now in this corner, rather than bringing the nozzle head down to table level to the paper, we're going to actually raise or lower the table with the wheels. So I'm going to slide my paper under, and I'm not feeling any friction at all. So I am and there, now I've got about the same amount of friction I had in the center. So now I'm going to hit 3, bring it to the opposite, and do the same process. Here I have to raise the bed. So I'm going to tighten it up. And there I go. Got a little bit of friction. I can still move the paper without crinkling it up, and I can still feel, again, friction between the nozzle head and the table, so I think that's good. Now we'll hit 4, go to the back corner. And there I've got about the same amount of tension there after a little bit of adjustment. We'll go to 5. And there's my friction right there. At this point, with all 4 corners having their first adjustment, it's time to go through the corners again. So we'll hit 2. Do our paper test. And that feels pretty good. Same level of friction we had before. We'll go to 3. Again, same level of friction we had before. Go to 4. This one here has to come up slightly because I'm not getting, it's a little close. So I just make a small adjustments. Remember, this is the second time around, so no big movements here. We're just kind of dialing in. And then last corner. That one feels slightly tighter, but there we go. And just for kicks, we'll hit 2 again. We'll go around 3 times just to make sure we're good. Good there. Slight adjustment there. Slight adjustment there. Back to 5. And slight adjustment there. Okay, with all 5 corners done, the next thing we're going to do is hit auto level. And start. Okay, with the auto level complete, the readout says that it's 100%. And so for one last thing, what we want to do is just go back into arch level, go back to position 1, and we just want to check this one more time. So I can see here that it's a little high, so we'll just and there it's just barely grabbing right there. And so I think we're good. Okay, with the bed leveling done, we are going to go for a test print. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the PLA that came with the printer. I know a lot of people say don't use it, it's garbage, whatever, but you know what? For a test print, for the first time using the printer, I think we're going to go for the supplied PLA sample. So it just comes in a sealed bag. I understand that the PLA is can be damaged from moisture, which explains why it's in this sealed bag. So we'll probably find some kind of a moisture-resistant plastic container to put our PLA in once it's opened. But yeah, just release the twist ties. I was going to cut off the end here just to make a nice clean end with the nippers that actually came with the printer, but that's actually pretty clean. I'm not going to bother with that. We're going to throw it on the reel. We're going to pass it through the filament detector. and we're going to release the filament holder, and that should go down about, I don't know, 1/2 inch to 3/4 it feels like, and then we'll go ahead and release it. So that should be good to go. The next thing we're going to do is on the SD card that came with the printer, there are some sample test prints that you can do already contained on this card here. So we're going to put this in the card reader, pins up, and that clicks in similar to like how your SD card kind of clicks into a camera or a phone or something like that. It has a little click action in there that holds it in there. So the next thing we're going to do is come over to the display, hit print, and this has 4 choices. You have a rabbit, you have a cat, you have a handle, and you have some kind of an Ender, sample. I think it's a cube or something along those lines. What do you want to print, the rabbit or the cat? We're going to go ahead and print the cat. So we'll select that. Now what you're going to notice here, maybe not because the camera might be a little far from the display, is that right now it's bringing the bed and the nozzle up to temperature. And so once everything is up to temperature, then it'll print. Okay, so here's a close look at the Kitty test print that came preloaded on the Creality Ender 3 S1 Pro SD card that came with the printer. Let's give it a spin and take a detailed look. This print included supports that were printed under each paw to keep them suspended. Those supports came off really easy after the print. As a matter of fact, one fell off as we were taking the print off of the bed. So not bad. We're really happy with this first test print. Since printing our first test print, we've gone on and printed other things. Here we printed a keg and 2 barrels. The barrels were printed with the wood infused filament that we bought off of Amazon. And because it's wood infused, you can actually stain this, and it took up the stain pretty good. I think we got some pretty good results here. And hey, if we don't like them, we can print more. Bought the printer mostly to print accessories and other things for our garden railroad and our basement model railroad. As you can see here, we were able to create a whole cargo load for our beer garden delivery wagon. I don't think our beer garden is going to run out of beer anytime soon. And what test print collection wouldn't be complete without the fertility idol from Raiders of the Lost Ark? I think the pedestal for our idol here might be a little bit oversized, and the beauty of this is we can just scale it down and print it again to fit. I think the headpiece to the Staff of Ra is probably going to be next, but we'll keep you up to date on anything interesting that we print for our garden railroad and other projects we have going around the house. So, in conclusion, we're really glad that we bought the Creality Ender 3 S1 Pro. It's been easy to use, easy to set up, and yeah, I think we've had some good luck with our first prints. So I'm sure there'll be more challenges in the future, but so far so good.